Good morning, everyone. My name is Jen Chaney. For those of you who have dialed in live, thank you for joining us. If you're listening to this on a recorded basis, thank you for watching and listening as well. So your eyes are not deceiving you. That is Jeff Vavricek. He's our CFO. My apologies. I hate apologizing right out of the gate, but if you're expecting an executive update call with Brian and Margaret, my apologies. Scheduling conflicts. They weren't able to join us, but Jeff is equally as important. I promise you, it's going to be an awesome conversation. Jeff, how are you this morning?
Jen, I'm doing well. How are you doing today?
Good, very good. Thank you.
I'm excited to be here today. So thanks for inviting me.
I am as well. Okay, so before we get started, a couple of housekeeping items for those of you listening live. There's a Q&A button on your screen. It depends on how Zoom is set up, if it's near the bottom of your screen or the top. If you click on that button, a Q&A box pops up and you have the ability to type in a question. So we really encourage you to actually type in a question. I have the box open on my screen. Jeff, you don't need to watch for that. I will cover those questions. But as soon as a question comes in, I be sure to get it asked and answered. So don't be shy. Please type in a question. We love these conversations when they're much more interactive with our listeners. Okay. So why don't we start with you, Jeff, just introducing yourself, your role here at the company, and then maybe a little bit about what you did before becoming the CFO of Right at Home.
Okay, sure. So my name is Jeff Vavricek. I'm the CFO. I've been with Right at Home since it's going to be 12 years here in a couple of weeks. So started in 2010. I've been the CFO since 2015, so a little over 7 years as CFO. I came from the banking world. So before I was in Right at Home, I worked in the banking environment. I thought that was a great, exciting place to be, and I didn't realize that there was things that are far better and more fun than banking, and that is really helping out people and improving their quality of life like we do at Right at Home.
Okay, so all right, why don't we talk about, I suppose, just starting right out of the gate with some financial questions. So let's talk about, and by the way, the people that are listening and watching this are people who are thinking about becoming a Right at Home franchise owner. So keep that in mind as you answer these questions. Okay. So let's pretend that you were somebody wanting to do some research on purchasing a franchise. It could be any franchise. What are some of the things that you, in your mind, recommendations on things that people should be looking at in a franchise concept and looking at their financial health? So a company that is strong financially, what are some of the things that prospects need to do as they're doing research on a franchise in that aspect?
Okay, so obviously, in addition to making sure they have a good support team and a good brand and a good image and all that, from a financial perspective, Right at Home publishes our audited financials in our FDD. So that's probably the first place that if I was a franchisee or if I was a potential looking to purchase a franchise organization, there you go.
I'm probably at all times. We sleep with them at night, Jeff. That's ideal.
You probably know the page number the financials are on. I don't have that memorized, but we have the financials listed there. We actually list 3 years worth of financials. So we'll have the current year. So in our new FDD that will come out here, I believe in the month of March, we'll have the 21, the 20, and the 2019 financials. So the first one I'd go to as a potential would be to look at the income statement. Just look at, and so the income statement tells you how much money that we made as a franchisor. So that's, maybe important, but I think the important thing to look at is look at that 3 years trend, Jen. If the sales are flat for 3 years, that doesn't mean you're a bad franchise, but that would, in my mind, say, mean I should ask some questions as to why sales are flat or why they went down or whatever. You'd like to see sales growing at some reasonably healthy percent. And that number can range anywhere from, a small percent to a big percent. It kind of depends on how long the company's been established and things like that. But generally speaking, if you see growth in the revenue, so growth in top line revenue, and then you'd like to see growth in earnings as well. So see a company that's, hopefully the company you're looking at made more money this year than they made last year. That's just kind of how businesses should work. Again, that doesn't mean that if they don't, we just went through a pandemic, so it doesn't always work that way, but generally speaking, that's what you like to see.
Okay, got it. So that's a great segue into the next question here, which, by the way, I'm sorry, I'm backing up. I just saw a question come in live, so let me take a look at this question. Let's see here. Okay, so this is a good one. I don't have a financial background like Jeff does. This is what the person is typing in here. Are your money/financial systems user friendly? Who at Right at Home will help with the accounting stuff for the franchise? So I'm thinking things like RightFocus. So maybe you talk to our listeners a little bit about RightFocus and how that, and anything else that you want to add, but that's what came to mind from you when I asked that question.
So two things come to mind. One is, as Jen just said, RightFocus. RightFocus is the tool that we rolled out to our franchise system. You know, I'm bad with dates. I'm going to say it was two or 3 years ago. Maybe it's been 3 years ago. Okay, very good. So 3 years ago, we rolled out this, and I'm telling you, it is the best thing. It started on just kind of a whiteboard exercise to say, gosh, if we were a business owner, and if we could develop a dashboard that would have all the key metrics on it, what would this dashboard look like? First of all, what would the key metrics be? So we've got, so now I'm going to get to what we actually look at today. We've got metrics that show revenue. So here's your revenue by month. We show revenue, and that's on this RightFocus dashboard. Show your revenue. We show your revenue against the goals that's been set up for a Right at Home franchisee. Same thing with expenses. We show the operating expenses, and we show them as a % of revenue. And we've got little red, yellow, green lights on some of these metrics that I'm describing to help you look. If you vision looking at a computer and you see lots of green, but you go here's a yellow, and maybe here's a red. So that hopefully helps the franchisee go, okay, these areas I need to focus on. My operating expenses are high. My cost of sales is high. My turnover rate is high. And some of those things, Jen, you think about and you see those and you go, well, of course I know my turnover rate's high, but sometimes when an owner is they're busy and their heads down and day-to-day stuff, sometimes it's nice to just see that dashboard that kind of brings it up a level and helps you understand what to focus on.
Yes, you're absolutely right. And then I suppose a kind of a second part to that I can answer is a portion of that question. They asked who specifically. So of course, RightFocus is a tool to help our franchise owners with that. But your performance coach that you will have as a franchise owner is going to help you with the RightFocus dashboard and walk through that and help you understand in the areas that you need to look at and focus on to really help grow your business. In addition to that, we have QuickBooks support people here. We have ZY support people here. So that's one of the benefits of franchising. You've got people and processes and systems and software. We've got it all, Jeff.
We have it all. And Jen, as you know, just in our training, we have through our franchisee training, we have individuals that spend time with you on QuickBooks and show you how to set it up. And then after training, after you open your office, they will support you and help you with your first payroll and things like that. So we do require QuickBooks. That's a company-wide thing, but it's a cheap, easy software. It works really well. And it helps our franchisees keep things in order.
Okay, so another question that came in. I'm going to quote this person here. You have been here a while. They're talking about you. You have been here a while. Can you talk about the growth of the systems at Right at Home since you began?
So systems, I just put systems kind of generically into programs and things like that. But I mean, we have, so one of the things that we started, and this rolls up to me in 2015, we hired our first analyst. And that's not to say we didn't have anybody that was looking at data and looking at trends and things like that. But we hired our first person to actually, that was their full-time job. And we actually had a couple, right out of the gate, there's all this demand for everybody in the organization is like, hey, can you have, his name is Wyatt. Can you have Wyatt look at this and look at that and look at this? So he did a lot of digging into looking at trends, looking at analysis, and some of these were helpful to us, but most of them really more for our franchisees to be able to look at like what happens when you open a second territory
Yeah.
and you don't open an office there, or you do open an office. How does that help the
Yes.
business grow? So lots of things that we're able to do to really pass down to our franchisees. I'm going to fast forward now. That was in 2015 that we did that. In 2022, we have, oh, I should know exactly, but it's double digits. It's over 10 people now that are analysts for the company. So in terms of kind of building things out, we've built out all this analytical horsepower, and a lot of it is, some of them just do stuff on Excel and put together PowerPoints. Some of them are more connected to systems and do things like RightFocus, do things like ZWise, do some of these things that we're throwing off. I know all these names are not necessarily familiar to the audience right now, but we do things to help the franchisees understand their business better, and at the end of the day, just be better operators.
Yes. Okay. Well, the questions are just flying in here, Jeff. I've got another one for you here, which, by the way, I want to add, if there is one thing to know about Right at Home, is we are a data-driven company.
Yes. Yep.
I mean, if there's any company out there that isn't like that, I'm not sure how they do it, but we are data-driven. I mean, and any company who's growing and thriving, I mean, the proof is in the data, and that's one thing that we're very focused on.
It's one of our strategic objectives. Absolutely.
Yep. Okay, so this one here, it says, you hired your first analyst 7 years ago. What do you think your department will look like 7 years from now?
Boy, that's interesting. Just to piggyback off of what you just said, Jen, data-driven organization, we don't see that changing. I mean, it's not going to change. Yep. So will the department will it be 14 people? You know, will it double? Will it be 14? Will it be 24? It's for sure going to grow. And in fact, we're adding, we've got 2 openings right now. If anybody wants to be a data analyst, we've got some postings up on Indeed right now, but we're adding
nice little plug there. Yep.
There you go. Adding a couple people this year. I think what's going to happen in the future is more of the same. So I think that we're going to be able to, I mean, it's all the things we do really focus on how to make this easier for our system, easier for our franchise system, our franchisees, our individual owners, to do a better job in being more efficient in running the organization. And how can they be more efficient? How can they save time? How can they save costs? Those are all things that we can, with analysis, with data people, we can look at and help shape the future. So it's going to for sure be much bigger than it is today. And I must say that in 2015, I would have never thought we'd be at 11 or 12 people by this time. So I mean, it's a guess where we're going to be.
Yes. Okay. So I hate to bring it up, but it's a new normal. I think maybe you know where I'm headed. We're going to talk about code for just a little bit. Okay. Because I think it's a relevant topic to cover. Can you maybe comment on Right at Home when COVID first hit, and kind of our progression through COVID as of current day, and kind of what that has done to Right at Home? Financially, how strong were we through COVID, and where are we right now? And maybe a little bit of, I know you don't have a crystal ball, what the future holds as far as COVID and how we're kind of operating through that.
Sure. Okay. So, boy, how much time do we have? I'll take this back. I think the short answer is that this was new to us, just like it was new to everybody else. Yeah. And honestly, on day one, we didn't know how this was going to impact us. I mean, we're a healthcare organization. Obviously, that was clear. We knew that we needed to provide the tools to our franchisees to allow them to do what they need to do to continue to help out our clients, help out the elderly, help out the seniors, help out the disabled adults. So we had just this massive task force like I've never seen before, focusing on literally all day long, day in, day out, weekends, focusing on how we can provide tools to the franchise system. There was all kinds of questions, and now they seem maybe not that complicated, but at the time it's like, should we make caregivers wear masks? I mean, should we, like, what are the key things that need to happen as we're providing care? What if clients don't want people to come in, or what if they they only want certain types? So there's all these questions that we maneuvered through and navigated through. So a little bit from a financial perspective, things were all over the place. It was, our business definitely did decline at the beginning. And that was not that was across the industry. That was not anything unique to us, but what pretty quickly happened, and I'm going to say within the first 3 or 4 months, is things really bounced back quickly to the point where business actually got better. So we've got, if you just think back to then, there were skilled nursing homes were being shut down because we're being shut down in terms of access to families because they didn't want people coming in and out. So we picked up clients there. Some people were saying, no, we don't want mom and dad to be in a facility where we can't go visit them. So we're going to bring them home to my house. I'm the son, I'm the daughter, and Right at Home was providing care 24/7. So from a business and perspective, I think it's shifted the business a lot. It's different types of business. We've got, we had to go through the whole evolution of the PPE, the masks, and the N95s and the gowns and the shields and the gloves.
All the things, yep.
But we do it all, and it just depends on the client. We don't do that for every client, but it depends on the client.
Yeah.
But financially, and you can look back to my first answer, you can see that we grew through the pandemic, both in bottom line and top line, and so we did well through that time period. Our franchisees did well. We did not have a big change in the number of franchisees, so they did really well. And I think, just kind of looking forward, I think there's a lot of opportunities that actually, and I in no way want to indicate that COVID was good or helpful or anything, but I do think there's opportunities that we're going to have in his organization that we wouldn't have had the pandemic never hit.
Yes. Okay. So 3 more questions.
Okay.
Sitting in the queue here. Okay. And this top one here has to do with, I believe, assessing the competition. So okay. I believe that you can maybe answer this from a financial perspective, and I can answer it just from in general, if we've got listeners that are looking at other franchise concepts like ours. So the question is, how is your system compared to other franchises? Do you make benchmarks? So I believe that question, and that's what the question says. And if you're listening, if you want to clarify maybe further, if that's not what your intent was for the question, go ahead and type that in. But what I can say is, and this is an FAQ that we get all of the time, how does your concept compare to other concepts like yours in the senior space? My answer is the same every time. And really, honestly, I can't speak for other franchises and what they stand for. And maybe Jeff, possibly, their general financial numbers. We know ours from item 19 of the FDD. If you're listening, you've got item 19, average net billings for an office is around 1.2 million. But what I can say in general for Right at Home is that our support is above and beyond the support that I believe, in my opinion, that franchisors give their franchisees. I think Right at Home is just superior to others in that aspect. In addition to that, not only the support that we provide to our franchise owners, with our franchise owners caring for their caregivers themselves and caring for the clients that they're providing services to, that is incredibly important to Right at Home, that you not only care for the clients themselves, but you're caring for the caregivers themselves. It's incredibly important that our franchise owners do that. And we have so much help and support to our franchise owners with caregiver recruitment and retention that you are never lost when it comes to that. Yeah. And I can't say that enough about Right at Home. Do you have anything to add to that, Jeff?
No, I just think kind of more I agree completely just from the financial perspective. There's so many things you can look at. I think Jen, the 1.2 million that you brought up, the average unit volume, I think is probably one of the most important ones. The problem is when you're looking at, like, everybody's got their own formula for calculating that, including Right at Home. So just if you're comparing Right at Home to one of our competitors, that's great. We encourage you to do that. Yep. But if theirs is 1.1 or 1.3 or whatever it is, make sure that you ask questions as to what that means. So
Yeah.
for example, does it, like our 1.2 does not include offices that are open less than a year. So
Yeah.
so some of our competitors don't include offices that are open less than many years.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily, just make sure you understand
Good
kind of
point.
what goes into the numbers, because you're not necessarily comparing apples and apples.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, there's the question about benchmarks. We do look at average unit volume. We look at just growth in the system. We look at number of units. There's a lot of things that we can kind of compare ourselves to. The analyst team that I talked about a few minutes ago, we do market research on an annual basis and update that. And Right at Home is just year in and year out been, at the top, not
right.
the top two, the top three, whether you're looking at unit volume, whether you're looking at number of units, whether you're looking at growth. We've had some remarkable numbers, and we've been blessed to have such a phenomenal organization.
That's right. That's right. Okay. Backing up a little bit. One of our listeners said that you mentioned that data collection and analysis is a strategic focus of the company.
Mm-hmm.
Can you share what some of the other strategic focuses are for the company?
Yes. So we have 4 initiatives. That is one of them. So I'm not going to just kind of rattle them off one by one, but if you think about from an organization, we want to grow. We want to add new locations, which is what Jen is in charge of. Yeah. We want to grow in other ways. So we actually have got other potential ways we want to grow and grow in the space. Grow in the senior space, which allows us to have a broader suite of products. We're always looking for things like that. So growth is definitely one of them. Caregivers is another initiative. So that's a big generic bucket that we've got a lot more definitions around it. But how do we provide an outstanding caregiver experience? Caregivers are the ones that are out there that are really the face of our brand, right? They're out there every day providing care to the client. So how can we empower them? How can we hire more of them? How can we make them better? How can we retain them longer? How can we provide better education and better backgrounds for them to be even better at their jobs? So those are a couple of the big ones. There's a couple other ones that I could go into, but those are a couple of the big ones.
Yes. Yep. And so you mentioned a broader suite of products. So what I can kind of comment on that a little bit. My understanding is this broader suite of products that we want to, add, put under our umbrella, whatever, that the purpose of those is to help our franchise owners, to help their businesses, to help them succeed. Helping them with that broader suite of products that they can implement into their businesses. So this isn't just, like, here's our strategic growth and this is all about us. Everything that we do is around our franchise owners and how to help them grow their businesses. And this broader suite of products is directly related to that.
Absolutely right.
Just a little bit of clarity there. Okay, this is a good one. Not that all of them weren't great, but I love this question. It says, I want to be the best franchisee ever. How will I be able to compare my Right at Home business to other owners? Love this question because you can go so many ways. I'll let you answer before I chime in.
There's I'm going to say almost infinite number of ways, but so there are. I think the best way to do it. So we have something called, and I'm going to jump ahead a little bit. There's lots of different ways. I think what is the coolest thing is we have what are called performance groups here at Right at Home. And typically you don't join that your first year or maybe 18 months, something like that, because you're getting the business up and running and you're just doing everything, right? So you're doing a lot of things, but typically after that 12, 18 months, you are welcome to join a performance group. And it's not a mandatory thing. We've got a large percentage of our franchisees in a performance group. So what does that mean? We have groups that are about 8 to 10 franchisees that join this group, and they kind of compare their numbers and they compare their it's financial, it's operational, it's HR, it's all kinds of things. And they meet twice a year, face to face. They meet monthly on phone calls. we right at home, we provide a coach that actually leads the team, sets up the calls, does all that kind of stuff. But it's really those 8 to 10 franchisees that provide the content. And so for example, they will on January 1st, they'll sit down and say, okay, this is what I did last year. This is my goal for this year. And then throughout the year, they'll update each other on how they're doing it compared to their goals. So just financial goals. There might be revenue, that might be EBITDA, that might be gross margin, or all the above. So that's one thing. They can hold each other accountable, because sometimes if somebody says, yeah, I didn't grow last year, but I'm going to grow 30% this year, then you got 9 people saying, how are you going to do that? What's so magical about it?
Yes.
And then either that franchisee doesn't have a good answer and the group will force them to, or they do have a good answer, and then they can again hold each other accountable down the line.
Yes.
So I think that is probably the number one way. Jen, as you said, we also have coaches that every franchisee rolls up to. That coach can give you metrics and compare how you're doing compared to maybe other people that are of a similar age or things like that.
Yep. And I can add to that. So the performance groups is more of like a smaller, and by the way, it's not just like, oh, I want to be in a performance group, then, hey, we're going to put you in this one. It's like each performance group, like we're voted in to their performance group. They hold you accountable. They have their own bylaws. I mean, it's the real deal, and they hold you accountable. And people in your performance group could be, somebody, if you live in Florida, you could have somebody from California, you could have somebody from Texas. So that's a collection of somebody who would be in a performance group. There's also state calls, in which your coach is going to hold calls where everybody from your state gets on a call together. Those are on a regular basis. There's regional calls. So we have regions kind of organized throughout the United States, where you're going to get on a phone call with everybody from your region along with your performance coach. I mean, even one off from that, it's incredibly important to become friends with your neighbors. I mean, these are right at home neighbors that are right next to you. Just exchanging ideas. Hey, I'm having this challenge. What did you think? Did you run into that too? Hey, let's work on this together. Incredibly important that you work with your neighboring franchise owners. So that's just one of several ways to collaborate with other franchise owners. And Jeff, can you believe it? It's been almost 30 minutes.
It's amazing.
Time flies when you're having fun, my friend. Isn't that right? Okay, so we've got just a few minutes left. If anybody's listening, if they have a final question, let me know and I'll make sure that I get it asked. But we do this every 2 weeks. So if you're listening, if you want to join us again 2 weeks from now, we'd love to have you. We've got a lot of great people that we're interviewing in the upcoming weeks. So we'd love to have you join us again. Jeff, do you have any final parting thoughts for our listeners?
I think it's Right Home is a great organization, and we're proud of what we've accomplished. And there are we have great competitors out there in the market, but I think at the end of the day, we're just really pleased with how we can improve the quality of lives for our clients. And we're excited about doing more and more of that over the next 10 years. I second that. Thanks so much for doing this, Jeff. I really appreciate it. You're welcome. Okay. Have a great day. Goodbye. Bye-bye.